All right, this is the Committee on Government Operations, Public Safety, and Public Service. This is Monday, December 1st, 2014. We're at 6 p.m. I have Councilor McKinnon.
Here.
I have Councilor Delasola.
Here.
I have Councilor Sani.
Here.
I have 3 members present. I do have a quorum.
Please stand, salute the flag. I do have regrets. Councilman Sachetta will not be in attendance due to sickness. We hope that he feels well tonight and gets better as soon as possible. Please read the first order of business.
All right, the first piece of business is a resolution up by Councilor John Leo McKinnon that the mayor's office appear to explain the 2 Jersey barriers on Yarmouth.
Let me see here.
Can we invite the mayor's chief of staff and the city solicitor?
Motion made to invite to have the mayor's chief of staff and the city solicitor before us. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Good evening.
Good evening.
Councilman Sine.
Yes, can you explain to us the situation and what transpired here, where we have a lot of the neighbors complaining now?
All of the abutters who have a property interest in Yarmouth Street notified the city in writing that they planned on making their private way a dead end. And they did so for a 90-day trial period,
You have a signed petition from every single neighbor on that street, you
The
said?
mayor's office, I
The
think.
mayor's office? And is there ever a legal document stating that if there's an easement for any other residents or neighbors around the area at all?
Do we have an easement?
Do we know, yes, does the city have an easement to use it
Not that I know.
for other?
We probably have underground
Sewer easement,
utility
right.
easements.
But not an easement to travel the way.
And the cost of this, who paid for the barriers to put up? Did they?
So, as part of the private way, as part of the analysis, what we do when somebody approaches us and it's a private way and they want to make it a dead end, is we have the police and the fire department review it to make sure that there's no public safety issue. For instance, they wouldn't be able to make it a private way if a fire truck couldn't get down. Both Chief Mason and Chief Butler did that. And as part of that conversation, it was determined that it would be best if they did it on a temporary period before making it permanent, because they wanted to make sure there wasn't going to be a large impact for public safety. So we agreed that we'd put the temporary bollards in, which is why they're kind of unsightly, because they're not permanent, for the 90-day period. And then if the neighbors decided, the abutters decided that they wanted it, they'd pay for the final.
They would pay for the final?
Yeah.
Now, fire trucks, are they able to turn back out, or? They have to
Chief
back
Butler
up
said that
and-
there's no issue with getting a fire truck down the street.
And then get them back out?
Yes, he went down there himself, actually.
I'll yield for now to the,
Councilman Delasola.
On the street itself, how many people signed a petition? If there's 8 houses,
It's every person who has a property interest in the street. So the way that a private way typically works is that they own the street themselves.
Right.
So everybody who had a property interest in the street signed the petition.
And also, there are property owners that live on, I think Coolidge and Ashton, that probably live on the corners, and they also have a property
Property
interest
interest.
on the streets.
but out of, let's say there's 15
It
houses
has to
total
be 100%.
surrounded.
All of them.
It
Has to be, so 100% don't want the barriers.
No, they did. They all
want the
did.
variance.
Yes. All of the people who have a property interest in the property. So the way a private way is you have to think of it kind of as a driveway. It's, if it's their property, not the city's. The city never accepted it. There are ways for cities to accept private ways, which is they petition the city. We make sure that it's a legal width, which I believe is 16 feet. That street has never done that. So the property, 14, so the property interest for that street lies in the neighbors.
Because I was in, I had a few people in Cambridge today where I work out of that area. Who was responsible for any repairs of the road itself, or the sidewalks?
You guys last year had adopted a state law that allows the city to make, I think, repairs and plow.
Right.
And plow.
The city council adopted a statute, I think it was last year or 2 years.
Yeah.
What are they looking to do if we take the barriers out? I mean, if they all want it, if the barriers go up, they get taken away. What are they gonna put back there in,
I had a conversation with Sergeant Bova, who had a conversation with some of the people on the street, and one of the interests was just for them to extend the sidewalk and plant trees, so the sidewalk would just continue down. We haven't, once the 90-day temporary period is up, the assumption is that we'll once again meet with the neighbors, see how it went. They haven't, no one who actually lives on the street or who actually owns the street has mentioned anything to us during the period, but I'd assume what would happen is now there'd be a subsequent meeting where we would say, you know, is this working, is this not working?
We would also ask them to present the city with any
plan.
kind of plan that they would, an engineered plan that they would have to create this dead end, so public safety, engineering, and possibly the DPW would all have inputs just to ensure that there were no public safety issues and that any of our easements wouldn't be hindered by whatever permanent structure was built.
so we have to accept whatever they, not accept, we have to approve whatever design they're gonna put there?
For
at
public
their-
safety purposes.
At their cost?
At their cost,
Oh, this-
right,
their
yeah.
cost.
For public safety purposes, yes.
Are you done, Councilman?
For right now, yes.
Councilwoman Sani?
Once they remove after the trial period, and I don't know if we can do this as a trial and a suggestion, I was mentioning to Council Leo over there, McKinnon, I was thinking about do not enter between the hours of 7 and 3, like the school hours. I know they're complaining about the people from the schools going down there, but if we stop it from 7 to 3, that gives it some safety issues.
The
if we-
city doesn't have control as to what their property interests are. We can't tell them that they have to make it a one-way. They have to make it a one-way between certain hours. They have to make it a two-way. They have to make it a dead end. It's their property.
We could ask them or suggest
Yeah,
it,
so
but they
as
don't have to
long
say
as-
yes.
Right, so that
As long as there's no
we-
public safety issue, it's
Right.
really their property to.
So that might be a suggestion, because you have a lot of streets that are impacting over there that are up here complaining they don't like the barriers, but if we do something to try to compromise both
Right.
sides, and try to make everybody happy, and you just make it a do not enter during the hours of school, and then this way, you know, the residents that live there can go down their street, the school during the time will go elsewhere, and then when at night, the people can go down their streets, or before 7, or whatever they decide.
We can suggest it, but we have to look at it like it's a parking lot, like it's
Right.
not our property.
Right, so then the other thing is, then after the trial, I think we need to remove them and then let them.
Right, and then they'll have to, they understand that they'll have to do the work themselves.
I have a question from the chair to the city solicitor, if no one minds. Is there any state law that suggests how long of a period of time that this has been a pass-through street, that this has been a street that's been an easement from the private owners and also the citizens of Everett, that has been a pass-through for probably about, I would say, 50 years?
The city itself, there's no statute that protects the city to have any property interest in that. However, if any of the neighbors who don't have a property interest in that wanted to pursue that, that would be something that they would have to do privately. The city wouldn't be involved in that.
If they did actually pursue that privately and they obtained their own attorney, would they win?
You'd have to, there's many factors to determine. It would be a long process, I'm sure. I can't sit here and tell you if they would be successful or not. There's always a possibility that they would be. There are certain factors that you have to meet in order to prove to the court that you have what's called adverse possession or an easement by prescription. And there's like 5 or 6 factors that you have to prove.
Continuous, open, actual, and hostile.
Could you say that one more time?
Continuous, open, actual, and hostile are the 4 elements that they'd have to prove, and they're very hard to prove. So they'd have to, but they would pursue that, like Colleen was saying, civilly, right, outside of the city.
Because I know that the school utilizes Ashton Street as it's like a flow out from the school down there, and
We have no knowledge of that.
I know that because it's my ward, and they've been using it for years there as a flow out. So I know that we need to find some type of solution down there, and we need to find it like kind of quick. I think the abutters on both Coolidge and also Ashton, they're looking now on Ashton Street in particular, they're looking at Jersey barriers up, and they're saying it's unsightly, I went by, it kinda looks unsightly, and I don't know how they got there. The call went to me, and I couldn't answer them. I couldn't answer them, so I said, you may wanna call the mayor's office at that point, so.
Yep.
I didn't know how they got there, but I wish I did, and I wish I knew, because it is my ward, so. But I didn't know the answer to that. So I went by myself, and I seen them there, and I wouldn't wanna live next to that, having Jersey barriers up in front of my, house or something to that effect. So I can understand, and I understand what they're saying on Ashton Street. If it's going to be anything, and if it's a private way and it's deemed a private way, which that's what you're telling me.
private way.
Yeah.
What we need to do is, we need to establish the fact that, one, anyone on that street is going to be paying for any kind of changes, any kind of engineering.
paying for
any
it,
kind
yes.
of anything going down on that street. It's their street at that point.
It's their property.
Property.
We can't pay for anything on their property.
Yeah, taxpayer dollars will not
No.
be utilized for that.
It would be like us coming and putting your fence up on your house. We
You
can't do that.
can't.
Right.
So, as far as the Jersey barriers go, when will they be taken down?
I think the 90 days is coming.
Up this month, we think, in
Close.
December. We were just talking about that. Is he here? Yeah.
Someone invite Sergeant Bolger up, please.
I make a motion to invite Sergeant Bowler.
Motion made and seconded to invite Sergeant Bolger up before us. Sergeant Bolger, please come up before us. All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you, Sergeant Bolger, for appearing before us. Councilman Delasola?
A couple of questions. Has the schools approached you on, if we did put the sidewalk in there next year, that they cannot go down there? Is that gonna be a big effect on the schools after, when they're letting out or in the morning itself?
I haven't heard any concerns from the school. Nobody's contacted me.
Okay, if we took that out of there, I don't know if you can answer the question, or Chief of Staff, if we took that out of there in 90 days, it would stay open until the residents get the money up and the design and all that? Is that what's gonna happen now, after 90 days?
Right, at the end of the trial period, we'll meet with them again to see what the determination is, and then we'll have to remove that, and they'll have to put in what they want in.
So it sounds like it's gonna be next year. I mean, with the winter coming, I don't think you're
Yeah, I
gonna
don't
put
think they're gonna be
sidewalks
able,
in.
I was just, I think saying this to Colleen, that it's getting to the point where you can't really pour asphalt cheaply.
Right.
So I would think that they'll either wanna do it very soon or more towards the spring.
Looks like by the picture here, it'd be a concrete sidewalk with the curbs and
Yeah.
a couple of trees or something like that
Right.
on the sidewalk.
I believe that was the idea that they spoke to Sergeant Bolger about, correct?
That was mentioned, that would probably look best as from an aesthetic point of view.
Right, you have the sidewalk in there, just an idea, 3 or 4 trees on the edge of the sidewalk, at least, I don't want no one coming around the corner and all of a sudden saying, I forgot that was open last year, what happened this year?
Right.
At least the trees kinda shielded a little bit.
I don't know the exact width of the road. It's not too big. If you put in maybe two
Yeah.
good-sized trees and a curb,
Right.
I think that would be enough to dissuade anybody from thinking they can make a left there.
So it's gonna be a few dollars to, help the residents realize that, to put a
They
sidewalk
were
in.
aware that if it became permanent, that they may have to put up the money to have it done, so that's not a surprise.
Right, we're looking at a sidewalk itself, not just,
We haven't seen any plans.
Right, and we
No
can't
plans,
we can't tell them what they can do, but we can look at it from an engineering point and say, this is safe, this isn't safe, this is, so, but we
Okay.
haven't seen any plans from them.
Councilwoman Sani?
Thank you. So legally, us as councilors can't do anything regarding the street.
Right.
So the residents all know that if they have to do anything, they gotta get a lawyer themselves and pursue anything if they wanna keep the street open. And really, they may not have that opportunity because it's a private road,
Right, it's a private property dispute.
private property. And you mentioned the corner ones, a part of that, are they also part of signing the agreement?
Yes, the ones have corner lots on Yarmouth, they actually have property interest too, so
Okay.
there will be 4.
Okay, so, I mean, technically, we really can't do anything. I know I made a suggestion, maybe something down the road, if the owners wanna try it, because we got the snow coming, before they come back with the, new designs, if they come back with, what they wanna do down the road. But I know it's a private road and we can't do anything about do not enter and all that stuff, so, Thank
Yeah,
you.
as long as, as long as public safety and engineering are okay with it, and our easements aren't hindered in any way by any of the structures, then we really don't have a say.
Councilman Delasola?
It just seems to me it's pretty open and closed case. They own the land, they own the street. They can pretty much do what they want as long as, they cooperate with us on what they're gonna put there at the end of the street. And it's gonna be a dead, I live in a dead end myself. It's nice having a dead end, it's safe. And really, it would all happen, it looks like to me, like I said a few minutes ago, it would all happen in the spring of next year,
Right, but
unless they could,
we haven't seen any.
between getting a lawyer and a contractor and all that stuff. Would there have to be drainage at the end of the street?
Engineering would look at it and
They'd
let us
look
know.
at that also?
I can't remember the way that street tips, but probably. I mean, I think it goes down this way, so
Just to clarify, so 100% of the neighbors
sign the petition.
sign a petition to make it a dead end,
That have property rights, correct.
have property rights.
Right.
Question from the chair is also, the ones on each side of the corner had signed as well?
If the language in their deed that says they have a property right, they sign the petition.
Okay, so there's 8 signatures, correct, on the
Do
street?
you remember?
I believe it was 8. I believe there's 4 on Yarmouth, there's 2 on the corner of Coolidge, and 2 on the corner of Ashton for 8 total. And the residents did submit it, but as a secondary check, I went personally with another representative from the mayor's office, door to door, just to make sure that it was valid, and everybody we spoke to agreed that they wanted to go forward with this, so we did confirm by signature and by home visit that everybody that abutted that street wanted to go pursue this dead end.
Okay, it's because we've received at the last common council meeting over 100 signatures on both streets, Coolidge, Ashton, and we're starting to see some resistance to this, so, I know it's a private way, I know, we're trying to find a solution here to this problem. Obviously, it's a big problem down there. When will the Jersey barriers be removed?
At the end of the 90-day period, which I believe is in December.
A
Right.
date?
They went up mid-September, so
Mid-October, mid-November,
mid-December.
mid-December.
So they're around the
Couple more-
15th?
About 2 more weeks roughly.
Okay, so they'll be removed.
Mhm.
Who put them there?
We put them there as part of the
So the
trial
city
period.
put them there?
Yes, we agreed that in order for us to, after Sergeant Bova and Chief Butler went down there, and they determined there was no public safety issue, and they asked for a temporary period, we agreed we'd put them down there, because we weren't drilling in the ground, they're just barriers, so that we could see how it went for the traffic.
Okay, so whose cost is that at?
To drop them off, we dropped them off down there. The city paid for drop them off for the temporary period.
Okay, so.
We're not gonna do any construction, we're not gonna put any bollards in, we just dropped off the barriers for the 90-day period to see how it went for public safety purposes. We haven't had any complaints, from any of the people on the street or from, like, fire or anything like that,
From any of the people on Yarmouth Street?
that own the
correct?
property, correct?
Okay, so, it's fair to say, all right, so we had work hours and also city workers that
We-
went
we
down and
drove-
dropped them
Yes,
off.
we drove them there and dropped them off,
Okay,
correct.
and did we purchase those?
No, we already had them.
We had them, so
Yes,
it's just,
those are old.
we're using them to just block the street off.
Right, so we could make
basically,
sure-
the only cost that was incurred would have been
We're dropping them
the
off.
drop off.
Right.
And
Yep.
how much
And then
would
we'll
that
pick
be?
them up too, I don't know. We'll pick them up too. I'm not sure if a foreman went or a worker or laborer, I don't know.
Yes.
But we put them there because we wanted to make sure that, that there wasn't gonna end up being an issue. And luckily, those are easily moved if there is.
Mm-hmm.
So far, we haven't had any public safety issues. So for the 90-day period, those will stay. At the end of the 90 days, they'll be removed, and they'll be responsible for putting in their own structures.
Okay. So basically, this was a freebie on the city?
I wouldn't call it a freebie, I think we did it,
as a
we did our
period-
due
90-day
diligence to
trial
make
period?
sure that we weren't gonna have a public safety hazard down there.
Okay.
So,
All right. So I'd like to know those figures,
I can find out who went
Okay.
3 months ago. Well, I'll find out.
and if we could have them back by, say, we communicate every week, so
We do. Yep, no
Um,
problem.
that would be great if we could just get the pricing on that as well. Because from my understanding now, from what you're saying is, this is a private road, this is a
Mhm.
private street, they can do what they want. The abutters on either side of either Coolidge or Ashton could actually obtain an attorney at their own costs and fight this, and possibly could win if there was an easement statute within the state, correct?
If they prove that they have some sort of property right to pass through the street, then, you know, a court could decide that they have
If,
the
let me
right
just,
to access the street.
in your legal opinion, I'm gonna ask a legal opinion of the city solicitor, because it was asked of me, and I'm not a lawyer, you are. So what I'm asking now is there any legal statute for the state that is designed for a period of time to where this was an easement by the citizens of Everett?
Yeah,
And
it's-
also by the private property?
It's not specifically a statute, but it's a recognized legal,
Easement?
it has to be 20 consecutive years of continuous use, you know, that like Melissa.
Open, actual, and
Notorious,
hostile,
hostile.
right.
Because at the last meeting, we had people on Ashton Street, Yarmouth Street, everyone, you know, saying that they've been there for over 50 years.
Right, but the city isn't the entity that decides that. It's
Okay.
a court of law. It's not the city. We don't make that judgment. A court does.
And we've been presented with no actual court documents that say that anybody else has any property rights at all.
Okay.
So all we can operate on is the property rights that we see in the deeds, right?
So basically, right now, what we're operating on is that they own the street.
8 people, right.
Until it's deemed there was an easement there for the citizens of Everett and the private way people, due to length of time,
So, it-
All the factors.
right.
all the factors that would
Yes.
be.
Length of time is one factor to prove.
That's one factor. Public safety would be another.
No.
Correct.
It's, continuous use, open use,
Actual
actual use.
and hostile.
Hostile use, notorious use.
Right.
These are
a
legal
whole bunch of-
terms. They're
yes.
legal
That
terms
have to be met.
that you have to prove in court.
Okay.
But right now, everybody with a property right in the street signed the petition, so we have no other option but to allow it to go forward unless we
And
see.
it's not
But-
really a petition, it's just a notification to
Notification,
the city.
right.
The
Stating
city-
that
the
they
city-
wanna-
A petition would be asking the city to take action. The city isn't required to take action, so what happened was that they notified the city that this was going to be their plan. That they wanted to make this street a dead end for
Okay.
a 90-day trial period.
Councilman Delasola?
I just want to recommend something to the people on the street. If you're looking at taking the barriers out, let's say end of December, if there are residents that can go to court on this to try to stop it, you may want to wait till the spring. I'd hate to see all your residents put the money up, get the sidewalk in quick, and someone takes you to court and wins the case, then we have to reopen the road again. So I'm just recommended,
Yes.
you know what I mean? So
I understand what
if you waited till the springtime, make a plan now during the winter itself. Make a plan, get the contractor, get the price, save the money. It's not going to be cheap. And then I would think by now till the spring, if anybody's going to try to stop this and go to court, it would be, I would think, resolved by the springtime. And then you put the sidewalk in the trees, and you know it's in, and you're not going to have to take it out again at your own cost again. I'm just throwing that out there and recommending it. If, deal with it for the winter and have the plan for the spring. And if they're gonna try to go after you and stop it, let them try it when you didn't put no money out of your pocket yet. In the springtime, it should be clear, and you go forward in March or April and get this done. I'm just recommending, just trying to help you out a little bit here on this.
You finished, Councilman?
Yes.
Through the chair to the city solicitor and also the chief of staff. As a recommendation, could we have the citizens of Yarmouth Street and also the citizens of Ashton and Coolidge possibly come together as a group and see and configure what they're going to try to do with this thing?
That
Could
would
we-
be up to the resident. That would be, I mean, we can't force them to do anything.
Yeah,
Recommend it,
as a
but-
recommendation, could we recommend to them that they may want to come together and actually resolve any differences that are there
You
on
could
this issue?
Make any recommendation, whether they follow it is up to them, but. Yeah.
legally, I
You
mean,
could make a recommendation, but it's not something that they'd necessarily have to abide by.
oh, of course, it's just
Yeah.
a recommendation.
Yeah.
That would come out of a committee like this, to maybe see if we can get them to sit down at one table and possibly come up with a plan.
It would probably be similar to, when the city council sends, a communication to, you know, another entity, asking for, you know, certain things, and whether they decide to honor the request of the city council or not would be up to them. It'd be the same thing.
So if, just for sake of interest here, if we put out as a recommendation to have a Ashton Street, Coolidge Street, Yarmouth Street meeting on this issue, and people would be able to voice their opinion at that point, would that be recommendable as a recommendation to come out of this committee?
I think if you wanted to be a good citizen and kind of act as a mediator, I don't know that there would be any issue with that, but I just wouldn't want you to open yourself up to any kind of issue in terms of, you know.
Councilman Del Sol?
I hear what you're saying, but I think it's, again, if you have 40 residents that don't want it, the people that live on the street still have the right to say no. They want to have it. They want the barriers there on the sidewalk. You could have 1,000 people come out and say, we don't want you doing it to your street, but they own the street. They have the right to do what they want. I mean, I know what we're thinking here, but
I'm just thinking legally, like you're saying, Counselor, and not to cross debate with you.
No.
But as an opinion, legally, if there was something to happen and they were able to put a sidewalk with trees up and make it look nice and pay for it and everything else like that, have an engineer design, have a lawyer present and everything for that, and it's all paid for by the 8 on the street, it would be a shame for them to actually get that all done and then have another attorney come in behind that and say, well, you can't.
Right,
And
that's
these
what I
are
was
the reasons-
trying to hold up to
and
the
actually win it in
springtime.
court and go to court and have a legal battle going on between residents on one street and residents in the private way.
Right.
So what I'm trying to do is get the time, try to resolve the issue here and see what the best resolution we could possibly come up with out of this committee and what recommendations we should do. I know one recommendation that I'm going to do is at the top of Ashton Street, because I go by there every day, is put a no parking to corner on the left-hand side. That's one thing that we gotta look at. That's feasible. Reason being is because anyone coming out of Ashton Street right now, they don't even have a chance, because I've seen it happen on several occasions going past there. So that's one recommendation that I'm gonna be doing tonight. As far as the other recommendations that should actually be, you put forward, it's on you right now. What we should do here, that's why I'm requesting, what should we do with this? Should we have a group come in and sit down and try to, decide what we want to do with this to make it sightly? Or Jersey barriers are unsightly, we don't want that, because I wouldn't want to live across the street from it, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't. And I know that probably my colleagues or yourself, you wouldn't want to live across the street from that, because it doesn't look proper, it doesn't look right. So when they called me and they asked me about it, and I didn't know, I sort of said, okay, well, let me find out, and I dug deeper, so now here we are. So this is what I'm looking for. I'm trying to find a resolution that's gonna cure both parties' problems here. They own the street, they also have neighbors on that other side of the street. They also are in the school district where that's a flow street, we'll call it. That's a problem. So, is there any recommendations from Sergeant Bova maybe on traffic through a different route, maybe? Because I know we went over this before, plenty of times, me and you, on Ridge Street. It was the same issue, so.
There are generally some traffic and parking issues around the schools that are difficult to resolve in any case, setting this issue aside. I do agree with you at the top of Ashton at
Oh, yeah.
Ferry. I think we can do something with that, and we can work on that, so I do agree with you on that.
So that's one we got. All right, is there any other recommendations out here that we could possibly make? Or,
No, I make a
I mean,
motion.
there was you had mentioned
not
something
enter.
earlier about the no left turn on that street. For, maybe try that for a trial period, if we could do something to that effect. I mean,
And that's up to the neighbors, I was
that would be up
told
to
by
the eight. That would be up
of
to
the
the
owners of
eight.
Yachtman Street. I make
Legally,
a-
that would be up to the eight, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, I mean, that was mentioned. Councilman Del Sol.
I'd like to recommend a no left turn from the time the barriers are taken away until the new sidewalk is installed, if it's gonna be this year or in the spring, to kind of relieve the pressure. And also have a neighborhood meeting. I guess we could decide later where that would be.
No left turn from
The
time
time the barriers are
No, it's
taken
been
away.
suggested.
barriers are taken away. And do you want to put specific times on that?
7 to 3 to school hours.
Legally, can we do that?
You can ask them.
It's only a recommendation.
But it's not.
It's a recommendation
you're not
from us.
requiring them.
Okay, so it would only come out as a recommendation,
Right.
You can send it as a communication to them.
and we can send it out to communication. Now, there's other people of interest that are here from Ashton Street. I see them here. I see them from Coolidge. I see them from Yarmouth. So I know that they're all here. They're all paying attention to this. This is a hot topic for them. Right now, I have one recommendation would be top left side, no parking, here to corner, top Ashton and Ferry. That would be one that we just agreed on. The other one would be no left turn from time barriers taken away, 7 to 3 p.m. That would be in the form of a communication. And is there any other recommendations that will come out?
And maybe the neighbors can try to work together, that's up to them, and try to do a neighborhood meeting down the road, but that's not for us to get involved.
Hold on one second, please. We have to change the tape.
If the Yarmouth Street neighbors, residents there want to get together with the other neighbors around the area and have a meeting and try to work together and try to resolve what's going on, that's up to them. It's a private road, I don't think we can really make decisions for them. I mean, we're giving recommendations, but it all comes down to Yarmouth Street, the owners of that street. It's up to them if they want to work with the other residents in the, and,
This communication would go out to
Yarmouth
Ashton Street,
Well, I think we should
Coolidge,
go to
and
I
Yarmouth.
think we should go to Yarmouth Street, and they can make the decision as a group, because there's 8 of them, and they have to make that decision if they want to have a neighborhood meeting
Mhm.
and working with the residents of the other streets, but they don't have to, if they don't want to, that's up to them, but, you know, to try to be a good neighbor and your residents and try to keep everybody happy, try to come up with a solution. And the other suggestion I mentioned was just a do not enter from 7 to 3. Residents only of that street can only go down that street, but that's up to them.
Can we legally do that?
No, we can't legally do anything on that street.
With the do not enter?
No, we can't do nothing. That's up to the Yarmouth Street.
Yeah, I think they made it a one-way before.
So it was a one-way going
I don't know which way, I don't even know.
from Coolidge to Ashton, maybe, I think it is? I believe so.
Yes.
Coolidge to Ashton. Okay, so we could, for a trial period, would we be able to try that as a trial period as well?
No, we can't force them to do anything.
Okay.
That would be up to them to
Just a recommendation.
reinstate it. if they
As a
want.
recommendation to them?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other recommendations? Does anyone have anything else that they'd like to add to this? I know I received a letter from one of the individuals from there. I'll enter it. It's, due to previous commitments, I am not able to attend this meeting at Yarmouth Street, but would like to make a few comments. As I said at the last meeting, the whole area has to be looked at for speeding, parking, and corners, and closing of Yarmouth Street. It is a safety issue in the winter time. You cannot always make the hill, so you have to back down, which is not safe. The 20 feet from corner is not enforced. The 15-minute parking should not be there because it is right on the corner. You end up going into the other lane if you are making a right turn. I have been a resident for 21 years. Why all of a sudden it has to be closed? I think most of the problems during school hours, traffic should be monitored at that time. Jersey barriers or poles should not be there. The street should remain open. That was from Paul Ruggiero, and he's on Ashton Street. So he asked that that be read. I know that there's members that are of all parties of the streets outside. We've heard them testify at our council meeting.
Make a motion to refer back to sponsor and with the recommendations to the Yarmouth Street owners.
Do you want to open it up to one person per street or no? To speak? Just so they can be
I
heard?
think if we do that, I think we have to have, we cannot do that. It's a public, it's not a
Okay.
public hearing, and we'd have to notify in a paper,
All right.
all right?
All right, what we'll do now then is we will motion to refer this.
Refer it back to sponsor and all the recommendations to the Yarmouth Street owners, and then they can decide if they like to work with the recommendations and from our board.
If they want to have a
Yes.
public meeting, they can contact us. We can help them set up a room.
And they can contact,
To contact the mayor's office.
Yeah,
Mayor's
and we
chief
can
of
help them
staff.
find a room.
Mayor's chief of staff.
I'll second that.
As a recommendation also, I would ask that we have our city solicitor just look into this to see if in fact there is any type of easement rights there to the citizens of Everett and also on the private way with the 8, since it's been open for so long. I just wanted to see if there was any clarity there, or if there was any state statute.
We have no easements on file.
There's nothing there.
We don't have anything recorded or anything on file here in the city. If somebody has something and they want to present it to the mayor's office, to my office, we'd be happy to look at it.
Okay, so basically, they would have to provide some type of information to you with that being an open way for such a period of time?
Well, if they have already a documented easement right, that's something different than what you're talking about. What you're talking about is something that would have to be adjudicated in court.
Okay,
But if there's something that's already recorded, an easement that's already recorded, that's different. They already have a property interest, and we don't have anything like that on file.
and there's nothing like that on file
We don't have
to date?
anything.
Okay. All right, recommendation is to refer this back to sponsor and add all these recommendations to it. I'll basically give this to our clerk so that they have a record of this, and this will go out to the Yarmouth Street 8 that had petitioned for the private way and dead end. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Please read the next order of business.
Item number 2, it's a resolution by Council Cynthia Sani Rosa DeFlorio to request the owner of the Gateway Shopping Plaza appear at this meeting procuring private traffic details on weekends and holidays.
Is there anyone in,
do we have anyone from, the mall manager?
Could they, please come forward? We're done right now. They didn't invite you up. It's not a public hearing now. You can't. And I know, I'll explain that. I'll explain it to you at the next meeting.
I have so many lies have been said. Wow. That's disgraceful. The mayor promised me those barriers would be moved today. The city solicitor was with me when he said that. He promised me they would be moved by December 1st. I guess the mayor just tells you what you want to hear, huh? Jesus. This is disgrace.
Could you please state your name, sir, and your title?
Mark Nickel, I'm the mall manager with the Gateway Shopping Center.
And your name, sir?
Harold McKinstry, also mall manager.
The green light's on.
Harold McKinstry, Mall Manager, Gateway Shopping Center.
Thank you. Councilman Sani?
Council DeFlorio would want to be here, but she's not feeling well. So we're just really concerned about what's going on down there. The last time we had a meeting, we were going to have officers on duty directing the traffic. Do you know how many times you had an officer down there or directing the traffic, or what's going on?
Yeah, every weekend since the last meeting that we had here about a year ago or so, every Saturday and Sunday, we have a 4-hour shift on Saturday and a 4-hour shift on Sunday.
Are you paying for that in having?
Yeah, we're actually using Everett's detail, PD.
All right. I'm going to talk to Sergeant Bova briefly here. I know he's here, and to invite him up to talk with him. I personally go through that mall. I have not seen a cop down there directing the traffic on a Saturday. I know because I'm down there every Saturday afternoon. Council DeFlorio was down there. She was stuck in traffic herself. She has a lot of complaints. I don't know what they're doing. They're not out there standing directing the traffic. So I don't know if we can look into this and see who's doing it, who's supposed to be there directing the traffic.
I've never been down there on the weekend firsthand, but I can tell you what I surmise, that it's a large rotary, which would take a lot of manpower to control that rotary to actually pull traffic, from what I understand.
Well, it's mainly they're supposed to be
The men that do the
inside.
detail, I think they block the exit to Target to prevent them from coming out and causing gridlock, and they make them go around to try to make it flow a little better. I think that's what they do when they're down here. To alleviate the problem, we'd need probably at least a couple of troopers out on the rotary to pull traffic, but I know it's been a problem for quite a while. I did myself get stuck in it one time on a weekend. It took me a good 45 minutes to get out of there, so it is a problem.
Well, it's hurting the businesses down there.
Staffing that detail, even if they would be willing to bring in a couple of troopers on a weekend, might be difficult, especially this time of the year and on weekends, but I don't know why I didn't think about it before, but I got together with a couple of guys at work, and we were talking about it. I contacted last week the traffic engineer from DCR, and I asked him if he would go down to the site and consider retiming the lights. I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. What I asked him to do is if he would consider lengthening the rotary cycle so the traffic would flow longer around the rotary, and cut the cycle on 16, because 16 east and west, we have a long run. So if it did back up a little bit on 16, I don't anticipate it would cause a traffic problem. They could afford to back it up because it's a long straight stretch, and that would allow the rotary traffic to flow and more vehicles to exit that mall at the same time. He has agreed that he will go down to the site and check on that and see if that's feasible. What I was told was that was used as an alternate route last year when they were doing work on the Tobin Bridge, and that they have upgraded the mechanisms in the lights, which would allow him to set different cycle timers for weekdays and weekends, which would be beautiful if he can get this done, because we could let the traffic flow weekdays on 16, when traffic is heavy for commute, when maybe not as much traffic in the mall. Now, weekends, when the mall is busy, they can time it to let more traffic go on the rotary. So if he can get that done, he asked me, you know, if I could give him a couple of weeks. So let's see if he can get that done, and that may really help us.
I just had a question to you. When you detail the cops there, do you tell them where you want them?
Yes.
And where do you tell them to be?
The meeting we had last year, we decided that one should be at the four-corner intersection inside the mall,
Yeah,
and that's where we told them to go.
yeah,
And the other one should be out at the end of the road by Target,
yeah.
going out to Mystic View.
So you have 2 officers you're
We
supposed
have
to be having
two
there?
officers. We're paying for 2 officers.
I like,
If you haven't seen them,
I've seen, well, we'll put it like this, I've seen one and talking to another officer at another time, but I think that officer is on a different schedule doing something else, the paddy wagon one. He's there all the time.
He's a
He's something different.
Community services
Right,
officer.
he's something
He-
different, so.
yes, separate.
I
That's-
did, when I was down there a few weeks ago, I did call the police department, asked for the officer in charge, and they said the cop was supposed to be down there because they were doing work on the bridge, but he was on the rotary. His car was parked literally on the rotary. So he wasn't the one inside the mall.
See, I believe they've tried a number of different things because it doesn't seem to be
Yeah.
effective. I have talked to a couple of the detail guys that have trying to go out there to try something else because it hasn't been successful doing it that way. They've tried a number of things. I'm really hopeful that the traffic engineer from DCR is gonna help us out here. If he can get that done, I think that will alleviate some of the pressure. I'm hopeful anyway.
agree, totally.
I want to say.
I really should've, I wish I thought of it earlier.
Well, I'm gonna lay this over anyways to the next meeting, because I do wanna also see if you can get us how many officers been down there every Saturday and Sunday, a schedule, because you guys are paying for this service, and we wanna make sure, and I personally, I go down every weekend. I'm there every Saturday, and every Friday night, so I'm in there. Yeah,
Could
let's
send
spend too much
that,
money.
that request
But Saturday afternoon-
to the detail assignment office,
Yes.
that's not on
No,
the,
up to the detail officer, if we can get, what's been going down there for Saturday and Sunday. You said you're scheduling 12 to 5 usually,
12 to 4.
12 to 4?
They didn't want to do after 4 because it was a different shift.
Yeah,
and-
all right.
well, if you did it after 4, the problem would be the people that come on duty at 4, you'd eliminate a whole group of people that, and it's sometimes difficult to fill
It makes sense.
jobs on the weekend, and you take those guys right off the board that
Yeah,
are
so
coming
I
to
don't know
work,
if we
so.
could request that, if we can get a schedule that they've been down there showing for the last, say, month at least. I don't wanna go too crazy for them, just that
Yeah.
we have a schedule, what they've done for the last month, the hours they work down there. I personally have not seen them, so the ones I saw are not where I thought they should be, but, if they are down there, maybe we can find out where they were and maybe we move them around somewhere.
Yeah, I have had people tell me that they left the post in the mall, and just because it wasn't helping where they were, and
Yeah.
they're just trying something different, they've gone out to the Rotary.
Yeah.
Even though it's state police jurisdiction,
Right.
technically, they're just trying anything to try to assist with to move the traffic out of there.
Because on Sunday, I was just gonna let you know, I went over in Somerville, they have 4 or 5 cops directing their traffic in the mall over there, in that new mall. And they got 4 to 5 cops out there. So you gotta keep it flowing. We want the businesses to keep moving along. We want, they're hurting over there, so let's get them, the traffic in and out so they can get more business, keeping this hour traffic, people don't wanna go down there, I know Council DeFlorio, she's getting a lot of calls. She's really upset that, even herself getting stuck down there. And, 45 minutes to get out of Costco was ridiculous,
Like I said, we've tried posting the men where these gentlemen told you. The guy, I haven't worked it myself, but some of them haven't found that effective. Some of them have tried other things. They've moved to a different spot. They've moved as far out to the Rotary, trying to give extra time. And then that's where I actually got the idea. One of the lieutenants that took it one weekend told me, geez, I went out into the Rotary, and it's hard to control that size Rotary by yourself, but he said, I did it anyways. I went out there and gave it a shot, and he said, I thought it got a little bit better when I stopped it for a cycle and let the Rotary have 2 cycles. So when he said that to me, then it clicked. Maybe I can get DCR to retime the lights. That set the ball in motion, and I did contact an engineer over there who's willing to give it a shot. He just asked for a couple of weeks to get it done, and we won't know until it happens, but I'm really hopeful that that will make a positive impact on the situation.
From the chair, I just have a quick question. Where are you telling them to basically line up when they come on duty, the officers?
We requested that they place one officer at the four-corner intersection inside the mall, and the other one is supposed to be out at the intersection of Mystic View and the road coming out in front of Target. So when they're leaving the center, turning onto Mystic View to go to the Rotary, there's supposed to be a detail there. There's also supposed to be one at the other end of that road, by the other end of Target, where there's a four-corner. Because there's a whole lot of people and a whole lot of confusion at that intersection.
The problem being, it stacks up on the Rotary and it backs all the way up into the mall. And
All the way back to the
you can
mall.
have a man at the Four Corner, that's great, but if it's backed up from the Rotary all the way up,
Nothing you could do.
it's not moving. So that, you know, like I said, that man has taken to occasionally going out to the Rotary, trying to pull some of it out, which, again, I'm hoping the engineer can help us out here and retime those lights, especially with the Mass DOT upgrade. He told me that they installed, which will allow different timing on different days, so he thinks that he can program it separately for commute Monday to Friday and weekend traffic, and that, if he can do that, that'll be great. I'm really hopeful that that will help.
All right, so let's make a motion to lay this over to the next meeting and have Sergeant Bova look into changing the signals hopefully and get success with that. And also with the detail officer, if the last month, I'd like to know how many officers were down there and the hours they went down.
Motion made and
Second.
seconded to lay this over to the next meeting. The recommendations would be to get the work schedule of the officers, how many, and what hours they're asked to be in work down there and where they're being placed. And then programming of lights for Sergeant Bova to work on for that. Through DOT?
It's DCR.
DCR? Okay. To DCR. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, gentlemen, for appearing tonight. Can you please read the next order of business?
Item number 3. This is a resolution by Council Richard Del Sola that the mayor's office considering reported to the city council's committee on government operations, public safety, and public service every 3 months on the progress of the casino.
Councilman Delasola. So wait. Refer to. Councilman Delasola? Discuss it in 3 more months. Next meeting.
Yeah, I want to lay this on the table for 3 months. Before I do that, what I want to just do with this plan was, just so the residents know when the casino will start, when they start digging, I'm hoping in January, on the land on 99, that we know what's going on, have a 3-month report on that. Also, the construction, there's going to be a lot of road detours going on. And just so when you're driving by and you see them ripping up a road or the rotary that we're talking about, hopefully there's help the congestion at the mall, the Westgate Mall, the mall there, that they know what's going on when they drive by. They say, Jim, wonder what's going on at the bridge down where Mellon Bank is. So I think this would be a very good piece here. We could lay this on the table for 3 months. In the meantime, we could talk to the mayor's office and make a plan how we're gonna do this and get together with the casino people and the contractors, maybe the contractor give us a report every 3 months of what kind of work that's being done there. So lay this on the table for 3 months and have the mayor's office get back to us.
Motion made and seconded to lay this on the table for 3 months. Have the mayor's office get back to us on any updated details of any roadway construction, any construction in general, and anything pertaining to the casino.
Correct. I want it for 3 months for the whole entire, the 3 years that it would take to build this.
Okay?
Thank
So-
you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion for adjournment?
Second?
Motion was made and seconded for adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it.
I could have updated you guys